Uh, Good morning, Assalamu alaikum, and maybe good evening or afternoon, depending on where you are. So we welcome all of you to today's session, Establishing Research in Pakistan After Moving from Abroad. So this is a true story, and the person who took this journey and envisioned this journey, he is with us, and we are very lucky that first time we are getting the first-hand information. And let me give you a very quick overview about Dr. Nasir Jalal, who is CEO of Mega 2 and adjunct professor at Nanjing University of Information Sciences. He has a bright career. Started his career with the Fulbright scholarship holder for PhD on cell and molecular biology at Colorado State University on a project uh, funded by NASA about the radiation biology, and an author of lot of peer review research journals, and also winner of the fellowship Charles D. Tenney postdoctoral fellowship from Nanjing University. So for the last about 18 months, or maybe a little over than that, he is in Pakistan, and he has taken many initiative to the molecular diagnostic and some other important health interventions. So I had an opportunity to have a more detailed discussion with Dr. Nasir Jalal. So we warmly welcome on behalf of Merit Healthcare Research in Pakistan from this group. And now it's over to Dr. Nasir Jalal, please.
Thank you so very much for giving me the opportunity, Dr. Sayyid Uzair. I would really like to thank Association of Physicians of Pakistani Descent of North America for organizing this event. I am not as highly experienced as all of you, so please forgive me if I make any comments that might not make any sense to you, but consider me as your youngster, a person who is under training. I am going to talk about today about my personal journey in Pakistan, and the objective of this talk is to identify basic biotech associated hurdles and suggest necessary tweakings so that biotech industry could be developed within Pakistan. Number two, to suggest the need of a harmonized plan so that Pakistan's biotech human resource could be dynamically stimulated. And finally, to show encouragement for Pakistan's research initiatives taken in the direction of development of biotech industry in Pakistan. So like Dr. Uzair just mentioned, I have recently established Pakistan's first biotech company called Mega Square. We are working in the realms of biotech R&D and contract research organization. I would like to begin by saying, quoting some anonymous author who says that the path to progress and change is nonlinear, therefore we stumble our way to success. And that is exactly what I'm going through right now. So I'll share my personal journey. What are the realities of biotech and medical research in Pakistan? Or let's say it's realities of biotech and medical research anywhere in the world. It's a very laborious research. It requires a lot of investment, a lot of expensive chemicals, glassware, lab facilities. And then over and above all of these things, you must have approvals and certifications, even to run your lab. Sometimes years, if not decades, are required to develop and market just one product. Very few government funding opportunities are available in Pakistan, thus it is highly competitive. China has a grant funding acceptance rate of 25%, which is probably the highest in the world right now. US, EU funding acceptance rate has recently fallen down to somewhere between 1 and 1.5%. The reality for Pakistan is that Pakistan's funding acceptance rate is considered to be 3%, but the total number of projects being funded right now are very low, somewhere between 16 and 20 per year. So let's just consider the development of one particular drug that we want to market. If we start today, it's going to take us somewhere between 10 years to 16 years. On the conservative side, it would be 10 years, but usually it's anywhere between 10 and 16 years. But this particular development phase of an active compound or an investigative new drug has recently been accelerated by the use of artificial intelligence assisted tools, which help us in screening at least 10,000 to 5,000 compounds in the preclinical phase. When we send those compounds into clinical phase, which is phase 1, 2, and 3, we still don't have an AI-assisted tool, but I know of a couple of people who are currently working in the realm of developing these tools. We also need probably to develop microfluidics devices, which would eventually replace the use of humans as subjects. Might not actually replace the human subjects as phase 3 clinical trial completely rests and is reliant on how the drug behaves within a human being. So it might not completely replace the necessity of having humans as subjects, but it could speed up the process. Now, again, let's go back to what technology does in an environment, in a country. So any given technological organization has two important factors. One is the technology push, the other is a market pull. Technology push basically generates new solutions, whereas market pull defines new problems. Together, the technology push and market pull provides change, leads to positive change, so that the society can develop and become more technologically advanced. In our culture, in our country, market pull is no doubt driven by imports rather than reliance on indigenization. So for many years, we have been taking the easy way out. I'm sorry to say this, but we have already been taking the easy way out. It is the right time that we start thinking big, we start thinking smart, and we start thinking for the country so that biotechnology can be developed as a proper industry within the country. Technology push is largely missing due to difficulties in R&D investment. Now, why is that happening? I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Why do countries need innovation? So if you plot a graph of solutions and problems, we have been working on old solutions, or we have been giving old solutions to old problems. Where we need to go now is redirect our energies and focus on providing new solutions to new problems. So we all know that Pakistan society is rapidly changing. It's good to know that Pakistan is now considered a middle-income country, and therefore our technology needs are also evolving every day. And biotechnology is an area of our technology that has not yet been exploited properly. I would say that the wealth of a nation could be given in a mathematical equation as W equals P times T raised to the power N, where P is the physical and human resource, T is technology, and N is the multiplier effect. So the wealth of a nation is highly dependent on the physical human resources and technology that we can provide. Pakistan definitely has both technology push and market pull, but our human resource is not yet ready and available to take up the challenge of indigenization. Therefore, I humbly suggest that we properly develop a Silicon Valley type ecosystem for pushing the technology in our country. So what is happening right now in Pakistan? We have academic research going on in a number of universities, but that research never comes out of the lab. We have bright brains, we have people who are working on different ideas, who have the innovation, who have the capability, but they don't have the risk-taking sense so that they could bring out that research and push it into the market. That's why what I'm saying is that we have creativity, but we don't have exploitation. We don't have the commercial exploitation skills available to the academicians of biotechnology in Pakistan. Now, why is that? I mentioned that earlier on as well. This is because an investor, an industrialist, requires a high return of investment, whereas in biotechnology, since the process is very slow, industrialists and investors do not like to invest in biotechnology. That is a huge drawback in the field of biotechnology. So what can be done? We could probably organize a different platform or organize a different meeting to discuss those issues, how we could overcome those hurdles. But this is one of the problem areas that we have faced as academicians over the last 10, 15 years. We have the brains, but don't have the right investment to bring our research out of the lab and into the market. I don't have an exact number, but when I looked at the website of Higher Education Commission, I could find that there are probably more than 20,000 biotechnology graduates in Pakistan, yet our biotechnology output is negligible. Not even a single indigenously developed biotech product has been commercialized properly. Our Pakistani research has been basic and never comes out of a lab. I'm just talking about the biotech research, not talking about other research areas. So I believe that researchers are not just consumers of existing knowledge, but they should also be able to produce new knowledge. And that is why I have taken up this initiative of setting up the first biotechnology company of Pakistan and doing what I can as an individual, as a citizen of Pakistan, to make sure that this particular area of biotechnology is given its due worth. So who am I and how did I end up here? Because this is an interesting story and I would like to share this with all of you. What is my professional background? I got Fulbright scholarship to work on my PhD at the Colorado State University. I was very thankful to the American government and the Pakistani government for providing me the funding necessary to take up that opportunity. I am pictured here with my co-supervisor, Professor Susan Bailey, who was the lead scientist of the Space Twin study that was pictured on the 2015 cover of Time magazine. This project was interesting because it talked about how cosmic radiation could affect the human DNA and how it could probably affect longevity of humans in space. I returned to Pakistan in 2012 and immediately joined NUST, where my career as an academic researcher took off, really. Within 2 years, I opted to join Nanjing University, which is the oldest university in China, and I received a fellowship to work on a postdoctoral fellowship. I returned to Pakistan in 2019 and got stuck due to COVID. And that's when I took up this decision that I should set up a small biotech company in Pakistan, which is now known as Simega Square. Currently, I have collaborations with a number of scientists all over the world, one of which deals with an interesting project known as xenotexting. Xenotexting is a concept in which we can code a certain kind of proteins and genome that could work as poetry. So the person I'm working with is actually an English poet, And he has this interesting project where he wants to make this new life form whose genetic code would be basically comprised of verses of poetry. I also want to talk about some of my academic innovations that I have worked on as an academic researcher. My first project was a 5,000 rupee project. When I was given 5,000 rupees to carry out a research project with an undergraduate student, I had this impression that 5,000 rupees would probably be enough to buy some candy for the undergraduates, because like I said, biotechnology research is very expensive, and we don't have enough funds to do the kind of research that we want to do or we have the capability to do. But within those 5,000 rupees, me and my student, we were able to come up with this micromanipulator, microinjector, which was a manual kind of an adapter that would fit onto the stage of a microscope. And we actually used this device to develop 5 new breast cancer cell lines. Later on, one of the schools, the electrical engineering school of NUST, heard about me, and they came up to me and they said, would you like to collaborate? We would like to work on this project of yours and take it to the next level. So we would like to apply for a funding grant and come up with semi-automatic microinjector, micromanipulator device, if you would be interested. And I said, yes, of course, why not? So here you see the device that was finally completed, the prototype that was finally completed at the end of 2019 in December, which is a functional prototype of the semi-automatic microinjector, micromanipulator. Now, this device may not be comparable to the best devices in the world, like Eppendorf and Thermo, but I'm confident to say that this is the first device of its kind that has been developed in Pakistan. And there are very few countries in the world who have the capability to build this device. Pakistan, alhamdulillah, is one of the very few countries that now has this capability. Our step size is less than 1 micron, whereas Eppendorf is 1.5. So I'm very happy to share this news with you that our device is equally as good, but we need to work a little bit on the user friendliness of this device. Moreover, this device can be connected through broadband, and it could have remote access. So you could be sitting in US or Canada, and you would be able to use the device in Pakistan. So how did I end up developing a biotech company, and where did I get this confidence of surviving in the corporate world, or surviving in this fierce competitive world of commercialization? I was an academician at Tianjin University, and I had started attending several conferences in and around the country, where I met this guy who was working for a Dutch investment bank called CDI Global. He talked to me, he heard me, he heard my ideas, and he said, Nasir, would you like to work for an investment bank? And I was like, I don't know what to say, because I'm not a banker. I don't have the degree. I don't have the prerequisites. I don't have the skill set to work in an investment bank. He said, I'm not asking you to join the investment bank as a banker. I'm asking you to join me as a biotech expert. And I said, please explain, what do you mean by that? So he said that over the last 3 years, we have seen at least 36% growth within the field of pharma, biotech, and healthcare. And all the Fortune 500 company CEOs have now fixed their eyes on this huge amount of investments that are moving across seas, across countries. And we want someone like you to give us the expertise on how to more intelligently help our clients secure their investments in the field of pharma, biotech, and healthcare. So I started working with this investment bank in the middle of 2019. And that's when I started understanding the survival skills that you need as a person who could be scientist, but at the same time work in the realms uh, of an industry. So I returned to Pakistan in the beginning of 2020, and that's when I decided that I must take this step and develop my own biotech company in Pakistan. Now, I want to show you a couple of different graphs that I collected from World Health Organization's website and several other sources to show where the research of biotechnology and healthcare is moving right now. Leading causes of death globally recorded in 2019 have been ischemic heart disease, stroke, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which means that heart disease and cardiovascular disease has been the main focus of mortality associated with non-communicable diseases. Whereas neonatal conditions and respiratory infections score on the scale a little lower than cardiovascular disease. The research that is being funded by several different agencies within US shows that USDA, Department of Defense, and American Recovery and Reinvestment Act has been actively providing research funding for developing anti-cancer immunological drugs. You can see that on the right side of the graph, biggest research R&D output has been in the fields of anti-cancer and immunological diseases, whereas the reality of need for R&D would probably or should have been in the field of cardiovascular disease. But that is the reality of research. Over the last 2 to 3 years, several websites and global market insights companies and consulting companies such as Deloitte and McKinsey International have shared the fact that global market value of biotechnology currently stands at about $417 billion, whereas it faces a CAGR of 8.3% over the next 5 to 6 years. And within the next 5 to 6 years, the estimated projection of value of biotech industry would be somewhere close to $729 billion. That's an increase of about 8.3%. Whereas throughout the whole world, the highest increase is expected to be shown by the Asia Pacific countries. And I would like to see Pakistan jump on the bandwagon and make sure that we develop our own biotechnology industry as quickly as we can so that we can exploit this opportunity, and not only exploit this opportunity, but also provide solutions to the problems for our own society. So how is my company, Cymega Square Private Limited, leading the way to biotech R&D in Pakistan? Cymega Square is identifying and removing bottlenecks in the process of biotech-related industries and acts as a contract research organization. We are currently collaborating with a number of academic researchers and professors who wish to commercialize their research, but don't have the basic skill set or the know-how to commercialize their products. Research and development of SARS-CoV-2 rapid test kits was my first initiative in this regard back in April of 2020. But we had to kill that project because it couldn't go very far. We then started making DNA extract, we then started taking up the opportunity of developing veterinary antacid buffers, but we had to kill that project as well because we didn't have the necessary clearance from DRAP and other relevant authorities for certification and other approvals. The company has business collaborations in USA, China, Scotland, Uganda, and Pakistan. So within the last 1.5 years, we have actively been developing collaborations all over the world to ensure that research opportunities can be brought to Pakistan with regards to biotechnology. We have a small team, but it's very, very active. I'm very happy to introduce my team, which is being led by an AI advisor, which is Dr. Peter Shaw, my senior advisory board member, who is an MIT graduate, Professor Zhang Yan, my chief medical advisor, who is an MBBS doctor and a PhD doctor, Dr. Ahmad Fahim, my chief operations officer, Mr. Uzair Hashmi, who is currently working on his PhD in Greece, myself, my consultant R&D, who is working on his PhD within China, and is also my ex-student from NUST. And all of these young junior scientists shown over here are fresh graduates of National University of Sciences and Technology. They're all very active. I'm very honored and very thrilled to have these people with me, and we have been doing wonders over the last 1 year. These are some of the collaborations I have right now: Boston Molecules USA, GBW China, Onorac Scotland, DRK Pharma Pakistan, and Nanjing University of Information Sciences and Technology, and Shandong Yanji Medical Technology Company Limited in China. The structure of my company currently has 4 divisions, which are diagnostic kits, veterinary feed additives, natural products, and clinical research services. The blocks that are highlighted in dark blue show the things that we have already achieved, which includes in diagnostic kits, we have already developed SARS-CoV-2 kits under license from Boston Molecules USA. We have also developed the spin column technology DNA extraction kits. Within veterinary feed additives, we have developed antacid buffers. Within the natural products, we have started developing a cosmetics division, which includes essential oils, cold-pressed oils, and formulations. And our fourth and last division deals with clinical and research services, where we were able to convince a Scottish company to bring phase 2 and 3 clinical trials of a hemophilia drug to Pakistan. They were actually wanting to go to India, but I convinced them that you should instead try to come to Pakistan because we have the same gene pool, we have a large population, we have the right skill set. So I convinced them to come to Pakistan. We are also providing editing, manuscript editing services, and we are providing technology transfer and biotech business setup skill set to investors who would like to invest in the fields of biotechnology in Pakistan. I have already started working with 2 such parties, one from Dubai and one from USA, who would like to set up their small business in Pakistan, and I am giving them the skill set. The technology transfer is being done right now, and we are trying to bring those people to set up their businesses in Pakistan. This was my first product, the antibody-based combo IgM-IgG antibody test kit, but unfortunately we had to kill the project. We then went on to start developing buffers called Magna buffers. The reason why we developed this product is because we talked to a number of farmers who were raising cattle, and they were facing this problem of acidity in their animals. And they explained to us that for the last 5 to 10 years, they have not had a product that could deal or that could treat, provide symptomatic relief for acidity in their animals. There was a company, a British company that I heard that was developing or that was bringing antacid buffers into Pakistan, but they had stopped developing, and for the last 10 years there had been a vacuum. So I thought that this is the right opportunity for me to fill that gap and help our farmers where it is needed the most. But again, we had to kill the project because we don't have the right, let's say, the right manufacturing facility that would help us get approvals from DRAP authorities. We are currently recently developed a DNA extraction kit. This is the first time that Pakistan has developed a DNA kit, extraction kit based on spin column technology. And I was told by one of the very influential people in Pakistan, introduced to me by Dr. Uzair, who explained to me that the right way to go in this direction is to develop an automated DNA extraction kit. We have started working on that, and I hope that within the next 2 to 3 months, we will also develop the automated DNA extraction kits. This is our brand that we have started calling the Indus Valley Secrets. And we promote this product by saying that this is the true nature of Indus Valley, which is Pakistani, which has a Pakistani heritage, which has heritage of the Indus Valley. So what we're doing is we are getting the oils, cold pressed oils from Lahore, and we are doing some of our own steam distillations to extract essential oils from a number of different plants. And we mix them in several different ways to come up with formulations so that our cosmetics division could flourish. And we are having good luck with these two products. On the contract research organization side, we have been working with, like I said, a Scottish company called the ONORAC, which would be bringing clinical trials of hemophilia experimental drug to Pakistan, but they're awaiting funding from the authorities. We are also providing services to foreign companies for data collection and analytics for epidemiological diseases such as malaria, dengue, and hepatitis. But we have only just started working on this particular field. We are just planning, we are in the planning phase of how to bring about this possibility. We are also engaging local food, beverage, and garments industries to solve biotech-related problems locally. In the middle of last year, in July of 2020, I also won a grant from the Chinese government to set up a biotech company in Shandong province, China, where I presented the idea that we need to develop a rapid diagnostic kit for breast cancers. Because breast cancer is a problem that has started becoming very common in Pakistan over the last 20 years. And most women do not have the right, they do not have the financial coverage to get mammography scans or to get the right checkups every 6 months to a year. So I thought that we need to help these women and come up with a rapid diagnostic test that they could use within the comfort of their own homes and make it so cheap so that they can probably use it once a month or twice a month. And I hope that when this test is developed, it would have the capability to detect breast cancer at least 6 months to a year in advance. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed when this product comes out, because I have previously published 2 papers on the biomarkers that I intend to use. So I'm very confident that this technology would work. Research and development pipeline for my company right now shows that I have already developed the DNA kits, essential oils, and cosmetics at Simega Square Private Limited. I plan to develop automated DNA extraction kits and RNA extraction kits over the next 6 months to a year. Whereas the rapid breast cancer diagnostic kits would be developed at my Chinese company in Shandong province. Excuse me. I also intend to develop high-tech positive pressure suits for BSL-3 and BSL-4 labs. Why did I decide to do that? Because World Health Organization last year, at the end of last year, explained and they warned the whole world that COVID-19-like pandemics are going to become much more common in the near future, so that all countries should be warned in future and they should take necessary precautions. Knowing this, I believe that Pakistan needs these BSL-3-4 labs, and they need positive pressure suits that can be worn by the first responders to these epidemics and to such pandemics that might emerge within the next 5 to 10 years. I also want to develop animal sera. Now, this is a future direction that I want to take up, but it requires a lot of investment. It's not that hard to make animal sera, but maintaining the quality requires a lot of stringent quality checks, which can only be put in place if I have a GMP facility. So what is my 5-year development plan? I want to develop a public-private partnership so that biotechnology can be promoted within Pakistan. I would be happy to lead this field of biotechnology by training a number of students and to train our fully developed human resource that have the skill sets, they have the theoretical knowledge, but they don't know how to survive in the biotechnology field. So I would be happy to help these students be organized for the betterment of our own country. Build, operate, transfer facility can be obtained in Pakistan to set up a large biotech, cosmetics, and DNA RNA kit manufacturing company. I don't know, I plan to organize some talks with a number of officials at the Ministry of Science and Technology to present to them a proposal where I would hope that they would listen to me and they would agree to giving me a GMP facility. Or I might acquire and operate a turnkey prefab GMP factory to set up a large-scale biotech and cosmetics company. This company, I hope, would provide employment for at least 100 highly skilled biotech graduates. This would put our country on path of development in the field of biotechnology. I would also like to provide healthcare and train young university graduates for setting up their own biotech companies so that once they start feeling comfortable how to survive in the field of biotechnology, they could go out and develop their own companies, build their own ideas, substantiate their own ideas, and bring them to life and start earning for themselves and start earning for the country, save foreign exchange for the country. My vision for 2026 includes developing my diagnostic kits division through the development of arthritis kits, breast cancer kits, TB malaria kits, typhoid kits, hepatitis kits, and dengue rapid test kits. Within the veterinary feed additives division, I would like to develop probiotics and nutraceuticals for animals. Within the natural products division, I would like to work on CBD oils and olive oil, sera, animal sera, and dehairing enzyme for the leather industry. I would also like to work in the clinical research services section by bringing more clinical trials to Pakistan, to provide epidemiological data collection sites, and to organize a data collection facility that could not only support and help our government authorities such as NIH and DRAP, but it could also organize epidemiological data so that we could use that data through AI-assisted tools to understand how an epidemiological what is the epidemiology of a certain disease, find out hotspots, and to send our teams for containment and for treatment of people. I would also like to offer workforce internships within the next few months. My immediate need right now to develop the biotechnology field in Pakistan is to have a GMP facility that would be compliant with Drug Regulatory Authority regulations so that we could actually start manufacturing on large scale. Cymega Square has already accepted term investments into 2 products, and our upcoming automated DNA and RNA extraction kits will have investment opportunities in Pakistan. Development of rapid breast cancer diagnostic kits will also have investment opportunities in China later this year. With this, I thank you for your patience, and I would be available and happy to answer your questions.
Dr. Uzair, with your permission, if I can ask a few questions from our speaker. I think you're muted, Dr.
Okay.
Uzair.
Okay. No, it's on. Yeah. Yeah. Welcome. I think that's a really amazing presentation and
Thank you, sir.
very well planned, extremely articulative, passionate, and I think well-meaning. So now we are open. And Dr. Danish, please, can you, start coordinating some of the question and your comment? Please go ahead.
Thank you. So I have a few broad questions, bird's eye view, high level questions that I want to ask you before we go into some of the specific projects that you're doing or topics you're doing. One of the questions that I've wondered about is how to improve interaction between the biotechnology sector and the healthcare sector in Pakistan. Many biotechnology companies are trying to work in silos. They don't have exposure to a lot of advisory from healthcare providers. They come up with ideas and devices even before understanding the disease or understanding or working with healthcare providers. And even when they have devices available, it's a challenge to test those
Hmm.
in beta testing, alpha testing, then beta testing, and
Hmm.
improve on patients, and then start with the pre-phase one and phase one trials and those kind of things. So, do you
Hmm.
have any vision or suggestions for improving that kind of a close working relationship between healthcare and biotechnology in Pakistan?
Absolutely. Let me answer your question with an example. Um, just 2 months ago, I wanted to bring a regenerative medicine to Pakistan. And before doing that, I wanted to get a first-hand experience from the healthcare providers at Shifa International, Islamabad. So I went and talked to a couple of doctors in the orthopedics department and asked them what is their need, what is their immediate need. And they said, we need regenerative medicine for knees and joints. Arthritis has become a huge issue, and there are injuries, knee-related injuries, joint-related injuries that require regenerative medicine. Um, so I am planning to work on that project, but that would take me some time. A short answer to your question is we just cannot shoot arrows in the dark. What we need is to identify the needs of our population, the needs of healthcare providers, and to work in unison with these people. They are the ones who have the right information. The second example I would like to give to you is with regards to Armed Forces Institute of Pathology. So I went and talked to a couple of the doctors over there and asked them whether they need spin column technology for DNA extraction. Most of them said we have already moved on to automated DNA extractions. So what I'm trying to say is that even though I've developed the spin column technology, but it's not going to be any good because most of the industry has already moved on. So yes, we need to find a platform where healthcare providers and doctors must sit together with biotechnology experts and identify problem areas so that solutions can be provided indigenously.
Thank you. Another high level question I have in general is what do you see as the state of research funding in Pakistan? And, the two main sources are usually industrial funding from the industry sector who's going to commercialize it. And then there's government funding through NIH or other central funding mechanisms that government have like HEC or whatever. So
Mhm.
what do you see it and how do you see it growing, or how can we advocate for more research funding in Pakistan?
I think that HEC has done a marvelous job over the last 20 years within limited resources that they've had. I think they've done marvelously, but there's always room for improvement. Like I said, currently very few projects are being funded, and projects are very competitive. The amount of funding that is given to academic researchers is also not very high in most cases, but there are a few projects that are industry related that would have at least 5 to 10 million rupees of grants that can be handed out. PSF, on the other hand, Pakistan Science Foundation, probably needs to step up and provide much more funding to support academic research. But this academic research um, should be themed. There should be a structure given to the kind of research that we want for the whole country. I'm not saying that academic researchers should give up doing their basic research, but what I'm saying is that if you want to promote applied research in Pakistan, you must structure it. Give direction to the academic researchers to say what is the current need of our country. For example, food security, water security is a huge issue that is going to raise its heads over the next 5 to 10 years. We are not doing enough in those areas. These problem areas have to be identified timely, and proper precautions should be taken right now.
Thank you. I see a few people have raised their hands, and I would love to have them part of the conversation. I also see some really excellent comments, and I would love to also invite them to make a comment. But before I go on, let me ask one other high-level question, and then invite my co-chair, Dr. Shahid, to also make a comment or ask question. So a third high-level question I wanted to touch base with you is that you mentioned about biotechnology graduates and not having much output. You talked about us not thinking about exploitation of ideas and having fear of jumping into industry or collaboration or commercialization. What do you think is the way to teach these skills of leadership and entrepreneurship in healthcare in Pakistan to physicians, and how to if they're saying a problem, think of an idea, reach out to someone, and think about an entrepreneurship. Be an entrepreneur, try to diversify just besides seeing patients, and how to be a leader in your field. Do you have any thoughts on that? How do you plan to do it for your biotechnology graduates that you're talking about?
So what I've done over the last few months is that I have organized seminars at universities such as NUST, Karakoram University. I'm going to talk over there in another 5 to 10 days. And several other universities like University of Management and Technology in Lahore, LUMS. What I'm trying to tell young graduates is that don't just look at the government to solve your problems. Don't just look at the government to provide you with a salary and a job. You are problem solvers. What you need to do is step up, take some risks, and become problem solvers. You cannot remain docile and just say that everything has to be done for us. We need to step up and find solutions to our own problems. So that's the basic crux of my talks over there. The other thing I tell these graduates to encourage them is to know that if you have a good idea which can be commercialized, discuss with your professors, discuss with your elders, discuss with me if you want, and we could give you the right direction to move forward. If you need investment, I could even help you with finding ways to secure investment. So that is the kind of thing I can do right now, which I'm already doing.
Thank you. I'm going to make one announcement and then invite Dr. Shahid for his question and comments. And then I will go to everybody who has raised their hand one by one. The comment is that I'm seeing a lot of very wonderful comments. Waleed, if you can save all of them and then share it in an email to Professor Nasir Jalal for his review later on. I'm sure he will not have time to read everything and talk to us at the same time. That'll be great. And Professor Nasir, if some people want to reach out to you, is there a way to reach them out? Do you have an email that you share with people? Do you have any other ways people can follow you on Twitter or Facebook? Please go ahead and share that, and then I will invite Dr. Shahid right after.
All right. I can just post a comment here with my
Okay. Shahid bhai, please go ahead. You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Danish. Sorry, my video is not working. It was a wonderful, I think, very impressed by Professor Nasir's talk. I must acknowledge that this series of webinar, and I really would like to acknowledge Dr. Uzair as well, who helped us tremendously putting it together and introducing us to all these wonderful academician, entrepreneur in Pakistan. because it is proving to be very exciting series, and it's the second webinar. But I see the level of excitement, and personally I'm very excited, and I would like to say to Professor Nasir that I think you would find, and of course you were here in Colorado, that the not only the doctors in North America, but other expat and diaspora is really thrilled uh, to invest in Pakistan in such endeavors. I think the kind of investment that can be done in Pakistan at this point is so limited, and particularly the healthcare professionals would like to invest in what they do best, what they understand best. So biotechnology in healthcare and AI and other innovations and medical devices. I think these are the areas that you will find a lot of interest from North America, as well as I'm sure from UK and other areas where Pakistani diaspora is. But in particular from APPNA and APPNA Merit, I think that was the whole idea, to introduce people like you who are doing such tremendous job and trailblazers and making all these ecosystems and infrastructures introduced to the membership at large, and open it up to them to learn how to invest, how to innovate, how to be part of this. I would say a revolution. I think 2021 can prove to be a very productive year of coming together of Pakistani leadership in biotechnology, healthcare, and the medical diaspora overseas. My only question, I think it may take a long time. If it is, I apologize. But you mentioned the first two things that you did. You had to kill them, kill the project. So is that a give a negative sense to startups, or was it just a one-time thing?
This was just a regular thing. So when you develop a startup, I hope you already know that setting startups is a struggling time. And one of my dear friends explained to me that startup is like dung that you throw on the wall. The one that sticks is your business. So yes, it was very discouraging in the beginning when I made a lot of investment, personal investment, and it didn't go through. It didn't reap the fruits that I was planning to reap. So it was discouraging, but I understood that developing medical kits and medical devices, whether it's in Pakistan or anywhere else, requires a lot of certifications and approvals from the authorities. And I did not want my company to get a bad reputation by, even though we had already developed the medical devices, I did not want to sell them because that would bring bad name to my company. So this was probably an ethical decision that I had to make at that point, and say that, okay, let's just kill the project, 25 lakh rupees or whatever the amount. I don't want to see it. I just want to move on. So yes, it was discouraging, but we, as a startup, as scientists, we never give up.
Thank you, Dr. Nasir. Let me start with the first person I have in no order of preference, just how they're listed. Dr. Tayyaba Fayaz, please go ahead and unmute yourself and make your comment or question. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one. I see Dr. Ubaidullah Malik have raised his hand. Dr. Malik, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you very much, Danish, and very good presentation with very candid vision and future plan. I'm Ubaidullah, and right now, definitely, I'm a participant, but my background is I'm 2 decades regulatory experience and right now working as Director DRAP as well. In fact, I have 2 points which I want to share. First, my own perception is that across the globe, problems of industries are solved in R&D and academics. But unfortunately, this phenomena is not being followed in our country. Most of the researchers who have been trained abroad, when they come back, they follow same research patterns which is being practiced over there. So my point and submission is that in order to promote local R&D, the industry problems of Pakistan domestic industries is supposed to be solved in the academics. And until unless we will not follow this pattern, problems of our industry will remain intact, and even academics people will not know that what are the problems and how they will diversify their research. So my point will be, because you have been trained abroad and very good experience, to coordinate with a few biotech companies who are working in Pakistan, and so that although these biotech companies are not doing their manufacturing from scratch, rather they are doing some reverse engineering of some biological products. And definitely these companies have some problems which are directly related to some biological aspects. And as far as I have reviewed your expertise, you can better help these companies to get these problems fixed. And then we will be definitely able to make available these biological products in Pakistan, which are being manufactured in Pakistan. So it was my first point. Second point, although you have shared WHO list of prevalence of the various diseases, and on the top of it is the cardiovascular and other diseases, but again, I am referring to the point that you should start your work, which is the need of the day for the country, and that is availability of some very basic biological drugs which are still in Pakistan not available, like MABs. These are not being manufactured. Some blood products are not being manufactured. These are always in short supply. So if you can help Pakistan industry in some aspects for the manufacturing of these biologicals, because these are the need of the day and need of the country. And my last point is regarding which you have shared about the biotechnological students, graduates, which you have been graduated, and they are being part of in the future. My perception and my observation is, unfortunate part is that Higher Education Commission and other regulatory authorities which are related to the academics, they have not designed their courses as per the requirement of the country. Like there are about 25 institutes who are doing, who are imparting biotechnological education across the country, rather more than these. But none of these, rather except few institutes, most of these institutes are not working, and they don't have such curricula which are the need of the country. And that's why all these graduates, when they are in the market, even they don't know what are the national requirements in the field of biotechnological or pharmaceuticals. So from your presentation, I got that you definitely have some good contacts with HEC, so you should play your role with the HEC for the curriculum development of the biotechnological institute, so that curricula should include all the parameters and points which are being followed by the developed world and which is needed in Pakistan. Thank you very much. And as far as I have reviewed, and that you have probably twice or thrice submitted your cases with the DRAP, and I don't know what was the fate of these cases, but I assure you on behalf of my organization, if you have some thing which is related to the R&D and need to be solved, then I can help you and facilitate you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Malik.
So would you like me to respond?
Ji, please go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ubaidullah Malik. You asked 3 different questions. So your first question, solving local problems, I've already touched based upon those things. Yes, that is what we need. We need to identify local problems and provide solutions through our research. Agreed with you. The second is cardiovascular disease and availability of drugs and blood-related products and developing them within Pakistan. Like I mentioned, developing a drug is not a simple thing. It can take anywhere between 10 years to 15 years. Since we don't have the right kind of skill set and the facilities that would be required to do that, it is possible. I could do that, but I would humbly suggest that we could probably start following the model that has been developed by India, which is the development of generics. Rather than going from brand names and other stuff, fancy things, we could start developing our own generics. The things that their patents have already become obsolete, we could take them up and develop our own generics. I could do that. However, developing that drug and even a generic has to go through a number of trials. So the short answer to your question is yes, it can be done, but it would still take at least 4 to 5 years to get that drug into the market. Your third question is biotech graduates and the curricula that are not meaningful. Completely agree with you, and I have been talking to several biotech institutes in Pakistan, telling them, advising them that they need to revise their curricula. But yes, there has to be a proper way of doing that. I would be happy to engage myself with HEC and to help these people, help these institutes develop and frame more meaningful curricula for their students.
Thank you, Professor Nasir. Dr. Sarfraz Hasni, please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's a wonderful presentation. So I really wanted to commend you on the multiple dimensions that you've taken, and I think you've answered sort of my question in the chat. But looking at your vision for 2026, looks like that have multiple things that you're working on. And looking from my perspective here in clinical research, I can say that all of these need a separate company of like 100 people to accomplish this. So from the healthcare perspective, you're looking at CROs, and that itself is a huge endeavor. So how are you going to manage all these different because you're working on veterinary, you're working on cosmetics, you're working on CROs, so it's just, to me, looks like that it's an overambitious plan. I mean, I don't want to critique you. You're doing a wonderful job, but I just want to try to understand that if we try to partner from this side, how do we focus? How do you partner with you? Because there are like number of things that you're working on.
Thank you. So the thing is that Pakistan right now does not identify biotechnology as a research area. Either it doesn't fall under the Ministry of Science and Technology, it doesn't fall under DRAP. So first thing is we need to start regulating biotechnology in Pakistan. The second thing is right now the slate is completely clear. So I think biotechnology is regulated by Ministry of Science and Technology, but not by DRAP. So sorry for that comment. I think that what we need to do is start providing regulations for biotechnology. And the second thing is, it does look a little overambitious, but I would eventually make spin-offs from this company. And every single division that I have, so there are 4 divisions, and I would eventually make them independent companies when they have matured to that point.
Thank you, Professor Nasir. Dr. Sarwat Hussain, please go ahead.
Ji, Assalamu alaikum. Extremely inspiring and very knowledgeable, very high level, Bill Gates budding kind of comments and knowledge. Amazing, amazing. So I have 4 questions very quickly. Number 1, if it's not confidential, what is the capitalization of your company? Number 2, if APPNA members want to invest, what is the minimum you would accept and how will it work? Number 3, I'm extremely, extremely passionate about developing AI in Pakistan. And if is there an opportunity to get involved? And number 4 is how does Pakistan bio industry compares with India? Because I think our future really lies in competition with India. Their GDP and everything else is several times greater than ours. And I think that our existence really depends upon what you're doing, Doctor. And APPNA should encourage and participate in pushing your agenda forward and owning that agenda. Thank you.
So thank you so very much. This sounds very encouraging. The market capitalization of my company is negligible, I would say. This is a single proprietorship, and I'm doing everything. I started everything from my own pocket. My whole life savings have been invested in this small company. I have accepted about investments as small as $10,000 from a couple of friends and acquaintances, and they have been promised returns on their investment. It's a short-term investment, so I would give them their fair due when it is time. I would be happy to receive investments from APPNA, but the focus of my next 5-year plan is to set up a GMP facility, which would be compliant with DRAP regulations, so that since DRAP is the regulatory authority, or Ministry of Science and Technology is the regulatory authority, we all know that Ministry of Science and Technology has recently taken this initiative of setting up a biotechnology park in Pakistan. That's a good initiative. I would be happy and I would be thrilled to set up a GMP facility within that biotechnology park. If the investment can be directed towards setting up that GMP facility, that would be a huge leap forward for the biotechnology, for the infant biotechnology company that we have. This would not only encourage me, but this would also be an encouragement for all the biotechnology graduates who are looking up to this small venture in our country. Your second point is artificial intelligence. Yes, the reason why I have collaborated with an AI expert from Australia is a vision that artificial intelligence is going to be incorporated into drug development within the next few years. It has already started becoming very important in the fields of diagnostics, especially for breast cancers. And I'm hoping to develop an artificial intelligence tool in collaboration with this individual. But as of now, we don't have an AI expert in Pakistan. There might be few people, but I don't know them. I am not in touch with them. But this would be a huge leap forward if we could organize the artificial intelligence experts, bring them on the platform with biotechnology experts, and develop a plan or develop a way forward not only for our country, but also to solve the problems of our individuals. Your third question is biotechnology in Pakistan versus India. We do need to follow that example, like I mentioned earlier. At least we can start developing generics, bring the cost of manufacturing of drugs down so that it can become more affordable for our people, because the purchasing power of our people in Pakistan is not as high. Therefore, developing generics in Pakistan is something that we need to seriously think on. I hope I answered all of your questions.
Thank you. Dr. Umar Hayat, please go ahead.
Very much, Dr. Danish, and thanks, Dr. Rafiq, as well as Dr. Just a few comments before I raise the question. Great presentation. I will say you're a real entrepreneur, and very ambitious. That's very true. I will also make a comment like bringing just to go from the discovery to the candidate selection. It's approximately, you spend around $30 million, but you can get easily $5 million. Now, from lead declaration to first time in humans can bring you hell of more money depending upon the therapeutic area. Drug development, true, it takes somewhere from, I will say, 7 to 15 years. It's approximately $2.5 to $3 billion investment. But but the return on the investment can be multiplied by thousands. And believe me, that's why you saw a lot of even the investment bank who approached you. They were seeing the growth, and there is a lot of opportunity. So this is not true that biotech don't have the future. Yes, it's a risky business, but the return on investment is huge. Back to the generics, it's a 6 months development if you have the right expertise. And I will say, if you can submit the data, approximately 12 months of stability, it should not take more than 3 years from really starting the development once the patent is off. So generic for sure is the opportunity. Of course, developing generics and staying local is quite challenging. I always encourage to go for 505(b)(2). So this way you can attract a lot of multinational companies who will be willing to partner or invest. Coming back to the funding part, I really don't like this idea to squeeze the money out of governments who are already struggling. No doubt, I mean, the government funding can encourage the entrepreneurship, can motivate the people, help probably the fundamental research, but we should really rely on the genuine innovative idea and attract the national as well as the international investors. On the side of, I mean, I really see, it's not a criticism, by the way, I really see the academics in your approach. So you really need somebody who has taken the product from discovery to the commercialization. GMP, going into GMP facility, it's again another ambitious goal. I don't know if it's a GMP DRAB compliance or if it's a GMP international compliance. Normally, if you have a good idea and you have developed to a certain point, I will not encourage to go into the GMP manufacturing, because GMP manufacturing on itself is a business. So nowadays, there is a lot of contract manufacturing. So if you can bring a product to a point, go for contract manufacturing in the beginning. And once you have a sufficient funds, then you can go and have your own facility. Because maintenance of that facility, building that facility, having the people trained to comply with the GMP, it's a huge task. So I will not encourage to go for GMP manufacturing, go for a third-party manufacturing. And there would be, believe me, I think in Pakistan, there are a few companies who do the third-party manufacturing. So that would be another one, just as a comment. I will say the great presentation, really nice, very innovative ideas, but you really need the investors and some experienced people. So those would be only comments on one side.
Thank you.
That's absolutely true, Mr. Hayat. I have already felt the need of a marketing expert and a sales expert, because I am an academic researcher. I don't have the right skill set. Yes, I've learned a little bit about the corporate world and how to survive in the financial world, but yes, I don't have the right skill set to market my product or to bring it to expose my product on social media and exploit other media sources. So I have recently teamed up with a marketing guy, big name in Pakistan, and I'm hoping that my products can reach out to the people. So thanks for that comment. I'm already working on that. With regards to your generics thing, it's very important. It's the need of our country right now. With 6 months development plan and showing at least 12 months stability, I think we can do this. But what we need to do is essentially organize the right skill set of people, bring them on one platform, start working on at least 1 or 2 drugs in the beginning, start making those drugs, set up a chemistry lab, synthetic chemistry lab, which would probably require at least $1 million worth of funding, because these chemistry labs are not simple to set up. They're not cheap to set up. And once you have that, then you probably also need to go for preclinical testing of those compounds to make sure that they are doing the kind of stuff that they're supposed to do. And then we can approach DRAP for registering those generics and bringing them into the market. So I would still say it would probably require at least 1 to 2 years. I might be wrong, but that's just a wild guess. Your third question with regards to government funding, yes, I already agree. And I have also made that comment that we should not completely rely on government funding and try to find private funding, private investors. There are a lot of investors in Pakistan, but they are not willing. Sorry.
Okay. May I?
Sure, Professor Nasir, please complete your comment.
Okay. So I'm saying that most investors in Pakistan are not willing to have a slow return on their investment or a small return on investment if we're talking about a biotechnology product. Yes, if it's a generic product and you have all the facilities that you need to develop a generic, there might be some investors who would say, okay, I might be able to get my return within a year or two. So they might be willing to invest. But right now, we don't have the facilities, we don't have the pipeline to build or to make a generic drug in Pakistan. So thank you.
Dr. Bhatt, please go ahead.
Yeah, please. Thank you very much. Very interesting and enterprising talk. My comment is that we have in Faisalabad, NIPG, very high quality biotechnology institute. I think to our experience in the Pakistan Atomic Energy Commission, where I have served for about 40 years, is that from research going to a product requires 3 stages very quickly, R&D and then the pilot scale and then the industrial scale. In the biotechnical or higher medical research, of course, there are again the similar steps with the lab and then animal testing and then coming up to the drug and so on, as has been said very rightly, 8 to 10 years or something like this. But my suggestion is that among other biotechnology institutes, the one at NIPJ is a high quality institute. And it's good to connect with them because before one comes to the commercial good quality, it is important to have good researcher. It is important to have applied project insight and then commercialization of that. Without that is, we don't get quality, we waste time and we waste money. So once there is already a good research institute with a decades of experience, it's good to collaborate with them. It's very good ideas which Mr. Jalal has put forward, very enterprising. But my suggestion is to use the good research quality already available in the country and then go to the commercial. This is at least our experience in the Pakistan Atomic Energy Commission and in the NESCOM, where we have produced indigenous nuclear weapons and also the missiles and so on. So it's nothing beyond it, but it's a matter of having good research at the back, then the commercialization. And we have the Institute in Biotechnology. Lately, I'm getting into interest of nanomedicine because of a physicist and then going into nanotechnology over the years. So there are a lot of things which the Pakistan needs, and such enterprising young scholars are in fact an asset to the Pakistan. So once, just to finish it up, I think Mr. Jalal, if you could work with the Biotechnological Institute in NIPJ, they have good research background and going on to the product and commercialization. Already the laboratories are there and very difficult to set up high quality laboratories. The government has already done it. Thank you very much for listening to it.
So thanks for the encouraging comments. I am open to collaboration. Like I said, I am not a conventional researcher. My cross-disciplinary collaborations has gone far and beyond. I have collaborated with software engineers. I've collaborated with hardware engineers. I've collaborated with robotics experts. I've collaborated with AI experts. I've collaborated with physics people. I've collaborated with synthetic chemists. So I would be more than happy to work with the right kind of people at NIPG. If you could put me in touch with them, I'd be more than happy to work with them.
So, Professor Nasir, I think I still see a couple of more hand raised for follow-ups by Dr. Sarwat and Dr. Umar Hayat. I want to just say that few house cleaning comments, we're getting late. If you have time, then I can take them on for their comments too. House cleaning that please reach out to us if you know someone who we should invite for these webinar series for healthcare research and innovation landscape in Pakistan. If you want to be invited, please send your resume to apnamerit@gmail.com. If you have someone you recommend, please send their contacts in apnamerit@gmail.com and reach out to us. Professor Nasir, do you have some more time to continue this conversation, or should we take a break here, or what do you recommend?
I would be happy to give a little more time because it's past 10 p.m. over here, kind of an hour past my bedtime, but I'm available to answer a few more questions, and then I would like to take your leave.
Okay. Dr. Sarvat, please go ahead. Dr. Sarvat Hussain.
My quick question is, if I was to provide $100,000 to your company, how would you invest it? How would you use it?
So I think the first thing I would do is develop a facility that would allow me to set up a BSL-3 kind of lab in which I could have HEPA filters and I could develop sterile conditions for the development of animal sera and DNA extraction kits. For example, DNA extraction kits that are needed for forensics have to be extremely pure. You cannot allow the contamination of any external sources of DNA in those kits. I would use that money to set up a facility that would have HEPA filters and provide sterile conditions for the development of products that I'm already making.
Thank you. Dr. Umar Hayat, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I didn't want to say any question. I asked my background, and that's why I asked if I can have the mic. Again, very ambitious. Setting up facility, the fixed assets, can be quite expensive, Dr. Nasir. So my background is I have worked for 3 startup companies and developed 4 products. First got sold like for $250 million. The second was for $5.2 billion, and third was $1.52 billion.
Wow,
so
amazing.
I was an employee with them, and I have worked on the generics. I have done several NDAs. I have written tons of the INDs and IMPDs. I have developed the formulations. I took all the way from discovery to commercialization. So I understand very much the landscape. But as I said, I know the most of the ideas and why you think that way, because it's really because you have background, but you really need, I like the question actually, Dr. Nusrat has raised, like if you have $100 million, I mean, $100,000, how you will spend it. I think your ideas are commercializable, but really need sitting with somebody who has gone through this and is familiar with this art.
Thank you very much, Mr. Umar Hayat. I would love to have a chat with you later on. Mr. Danish, would it be possible?
By the way, I would be visiting Pakistan from May 18th to June 1st. So,
sir, I would be happy to sit down with you over a cup of coffee and hear your ideas. I would be more than thrilled, honored.
No problem.
Very good. Thank you so much, everyone. Again, in the chat box, I have shared the contacts of Professor Nasir Jalal as shared by him to one of the questions that were raised. So you can find him on his website, scimega2.com, and you can reach out to him at nasir.jalal@alumni.colostate.edu. Thank you so much for taking the time out and being with us. For our audience, this was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you.